So the last inspirational speaker is Bernd Fesel. I don't need any preparation to present him, because he used to be the managing director of ECBN. So we worked together, I don't know, for 7-8 years. And he was really the cornerstone of ECBN. He's still now in the chair position, I have to say, so he's not disappearing for us. But he built ECBN like it is, and what we did, and all the ECIS which used to be the last years, and also the coming ECIS will reflect what he was building. And why we are so happy that he could join us today is also that he's now the CEO of the EIT Culture and Creativity, which is a huge project. I mean, it was really a work for 10 years, I would say. You could say this is the journey of 10 years. So from beginning, where we had a European Creative Industry Summit with 50 people, so to say, to now where we have to build a European network for the knowledge and innovation communities. Bernd, I mean, I don't know what to say. Please come up to the stage, and thank you for your service and for your work and for the support. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Gavin, for this warm welcome, and thank you, Petru, for having me. And of course, you heard a lot now already. What is the EIT Culture and Creativity? So now, finally, let's lift this secret. I will talk first about what is an innovation community, what is the EIT. Then secondly, what is the EIT Culture and Creativity as a structure, and last but not least, what can it be as a benefit to you as a stakeholder if you're a museum, a center, a hub, or just an entrepreneur or researcher. So let's start with the EIT. It's the European MIT, European Institute of Innovation and Technology, and its aim is really to increase competitiveness of Europe by innovating through connectivity, integration, and cooperation. Cooperation means here across silos from research, universities, companies, cities, and also now civil society. And this is called the knowledge triangle. The EIT has been created 2008, and 2010, exactly when we started ECBN, it started the very first innovation community. An innovation community is not so much a project, but a company which is set up to be sustainable in itself and drive the innovation ecosystem of a specific challenge. And in 2010, it was really daring and early bird, set up an EIT, an innovation community for climate, then for the topic of digital economy, energy, which is obviously now really at our hearts. And last but not least now, number 9, is the EIT Culture and Creativity. So it's a long journey here for the EIT to establish also this innovation community for our sectors. Just to let you know a few numbers, what the EIT has accomplished in the last years since 2010, supported some 5,600 ventures, which also means investing in those ventures, supported almost 1,700 products and services, some almost 18,000 jobs have been created out of those ventures, and supported startups and scale-ups, which in itself then generated another 6 billion euros in external investments. But the EIT and this innovation community all starts with students. So at the heart of this is really young talents, and that's why it's important to point out that some 4,600 master and PhD students have been run through the EIT system across all those different sectors. So now coming to our EIT Culture and Creativity. And you all have heard high hopes, estimations. I was surprised to hear that we are an aircraft carrier, so I hope we stay a creativity carrier here. But I like the idea that you take us as a landing point to start off what you can do best to turn a carrier into what we might perceive it as a positive sense. So this EIT innovation community for our sectors is starting at a very special point of time. Some 2 years ago, we were selected to be one of those 14 ecosystems central for the economic success of Europe. Then our sectors were included into the Horizon funding program. Some 3 billion euros were included there. Then in the next generation and recovery funds, we see some 6 billion euros being included. So if it was not for the Putin war, if it was not for COVID, we could really say, you know, the golden age for our sector starts. It's not any longer about money. Funds, investments are there, political attention is there. And now even this innovation community is there. And now we really have this big question in front of us. You know, we know our sectors are an economic power, some 450 billion euros in gross value added, as large as the EIT sector, ICT sector. We know it's a sector, you know, of inspiration, of transformative change, if it's cultural heritage in industrial areas or just whole cities. Just think of the UNESCO Creative City program. So can this EIT community really deliver, to help our sectors to be a game changer, really a game changer for the green transformation? That's the core issue and debate today. So just to remind you what this really means, culture and creativity, just remember how you came here. Probably you will have read the news in your iPhone, maybe listened to music, maybe even streamed a film. Obviously this morning you all dressed, so it's all about fashion, and now we are here in a building. So you might go to work without a car, but never, never without culture and creativity. So while you use this daily, sometimes hourly, sometimes minutely, probably like we are sitting here, listening to me in parallel, you're using our culture products. Those mini decisions are also global markets. The fashion market is a 1.9 trillion market, and so by just using it every day, we create those global markets. Obviously also for media, for architecture. So this EIT innovation community is really taking creativity across all those sectors, across silos, also cultural silos, geographical, national silos, by then building innovation without limits. That's our belief and claim. Our vision is here to create a label created in Europe, not so much using the big brands which are there already, like Armani and Hermes, and of course many other great companies like Philips, Bertelsmann. You all know them already. But the real brand value is to really build on the small and medium-sized companies. The 90% of our sectors, they can still be used to scale innovation and to unlock the latent values of our sectors. Then we believe if we really have this cross-fertilization of the already known big ones and the hidden small ones, with this cross-fertilization, we believe to be a game changer also for the green transformation. So how was this innovation community built? You have heard already, it was a long journey, but the core was published about a year ago. And we built a network of networks for now, some 50 partners from 20 nations. And while this was the setting with which we applied, even more partners, associates, altogether a partnership of over 100 partners were working on this. It's supposed to grow to some 300, 400 partners. So this is a message to you to be interested and to join us later on once we are established, which will be in 24. We included the whole variety of our sector, from the small non-profit to the institutional non-profit like a Centre Pompidou or cultural heritage institutions, even networks for cultural heritage, so to have the whole variety of our sectors. Membership schemes in this innovation community reach from the possibility to join as an individual with a few hundred euros per year, even maybe less for 50 or 100 euros, up to big corporates and established institutions paying 25,000 euros, for example. All this member scheme is now being created. The whole year 23 is the year of a setup. So in fact, you're looking here at a startup. We have been just awarded all these possibilities 8 weeks ago. So we are just hiring staff, and in 23 we are building all those structures and deciding on those figures. We have decided already on service centers, which are created across Europe, 6 service centers reaching from Bologna, Amsterdam, Helsinki, over Košice, Vienna, and also Bologna. Those service centers will be contact points, service points, entry points into the service system, but also points to access our policy club, investment and access to finance possibilities. Innovation for us is not just the classical OECD definition of innovation, which is tech-driven, business-driven, but it's also about artistic innovation and social citizen-driven innovation, because we all know a lot of cultural activities are really mingled and closely related to in-kind activities of citizens. If you just think of music, singing, many other activities, culture is interacting with citizens. Most important, maybe also for the place we are here in Czech Republic, the EIT and the whole European Union strives to create one innovation ecosystem. And that means also closing disparities and gaps in the ecosystems in the EU 13 nations, in the so-called regions, and also the Czech Republic, as well as Poland and many other nations in Eastern Europe, are really on a key focus for our investments, which are higher than into the classical old, as I say, Old West in comparison to the fresh East. You find here some of those numbers. For example, our accelerator systems and incubators, we will create some 30% of them here in Eastern Europe. Look at our trainings for professionals, some 30% of those 40,000 we want to reach here in Eastern Europe. We have an industrial strategy to implement all those aims, to foster green transformation, and those sectors for the industrial strategy have been selected along existing challenges we have. Like Ela and also Gavin pointed out, we are not only part of the solution, which we are not yet, we have to work on that, that's our mission, but for sure we are part of the problem. And that's not only fast fashion, but also architecture. Some 36% of the carbon footprint of Europe is coming from construction and architecture. But we will focus also on design, inclusive design, green media, film, audiovisual, and last but not least, we just heard it from Fraunhofer and the OMC group, cultural heritage is not only a question of values, and our conviction at the heart of our identity in cities, but also, of course, a big economic problem. If cities cannot pay any longer for restorations of cultural heritage, tourism will fall, and then we have a spiral going down. So we need innovations here also for economic reasons. So what will we do in concrete? That's now my third part, really targeted to you as a stakeholder. We will start new master and PhD programs. We will look into innovations which are driven by missions. That means they are focused to deliver really within short time real change. It's not just innovation which is then going to the shelf, but it's innovations focused on the market and impact. We will have tools to transform businesses to help you as a company or as a hub or as an event space like this to be more resilient. We will aim to train some almost 2,000 businesses to do so in the next 7 years. We will look to mainstream impact and value of our sector. This also means to support collaborative value creation activities. That sounds abstract, but if you look at cultural collaboration by theaters, by art, by design, by film, it's not only about economics, it's always also expressing a value. Most of all, of course, the value of the freedom of expression, of diversity, and that we want to support with specific programs, which I will introduce later on. Last but not least, we know there are observatories for many sectors. Even other sectors know quite well what kind of investments are done every year. Not so in the creative industries. Marcel pointed to it that we have huge lacks in data, and that's also part of our activities. So if you as an institution or as a policymaker or even, you know, as a dancer, want to evaluate what the impact of your work is, we will provide calls and funding to come up with monitoring and evaluation of what you do. So what is in for you specifically if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a student, if you're an investor, if you're a university, if you're a policymaker? Those user journeys are just being developed now in the next year. So please keep in mind, we will be back somewhere in 23. Here, hopefully, with Petra in Prague, doing information and workshops to tell you more specifically from your point of view how you can use those programs. And while those programs are still being developed, I will just give you a sneak preview, and that's really the first one here today presenting it, what those programs will look like. Those programs are in the field of education, innovation, business creation, society, social change, and also systems, which is about the data creation and the evaluation. So in the field of education, you will see new masters and PhDs, but also new training programs for professionals. In the field of innovation, we will support really technology, but also cultural breakthroughs from new ideas and business models. And here we just don't mean also the scalable business models, but also the non-profit business models through markets. But Triple Transformer, for example, is also one of our programs to help companies to change. So with this kind of toolbox, you can then create your own journey and orientate and have a navigation in this kick which is coming up to use the different programs for whatever you need them. And please see this also as a system. Of course, your choice next year in this toolbox might be different than in 5 years. So see it as a very different funding program. It's not something you use once and then you leave, but this is created for the next 15 years, also to enable you to learn and to use it in different stages. As a student, you know, you can use it for new masters, but as well then later on, if you create your new company, or if your company is maturing, you can use the system again to reach out to investors. So hopefully we are there for a longer journey on your way to the market success. So I now spoke about the market success you as an individual have, but this kick is also created to support a systemic change in education or in markets. So it's not just about the one product, but how can an ecosystem in itself change? And I think here we come back to our big topic at the beginning. How can we really help to have a green transformation? And I think we all know, while we all do our individual choices to be more sustainable, we also know it might not be enough to change the whole ecosystem and the whole market. So we need both. We need the individual choices for sustainability, but we also need the system change for sustainability. And here is a small matrix of what we will do in the background as an innovation community with 6 service centers across Europe, with some 100 partners to enable from certain outcomes to really a systemic impact. We will explain this in more detail. But just to give you a glimpse already, you see this, you know, we really want to work also in an outreach dimension, which is, you know, unusual, working with some 3,000 small communities, with some 50 million people to have a really systemic change and impact. And I just point to this message also to make clear this high-level European initiative and all those high-level partners we have are not only working and supporting here the usual suspects, you know, in London, Milano, in Paris and Berlin, and in Barcelona and Bologna, where creative industries is obviously a self-fulfilling prophecy. In fact, it's there more about over-gentrification than support. So we will really look beyond those usual suspects. And so please feel motivated, even from a small region or city, to contact us. We're really there for you, to support you and to work with you. Last slide. Where are we now? As I said, we are just starting, just like 8 weeks old. And we see ourselves really as a startup. We're just hiring staff. We're building 8 legal structures now until May next year. And as I'm speaking here to you, we don't even have a real legal startup. We are hosted by Fraunhofer as a coordinator, who is helping us now to transform from winning this bid into a new legal structure. We are creating our communication structures. We just have our first really social media channels in Twitter and LinkedIn. We're creating a digital participation platform, because you can imagine all those high aims we will not just reach by physical meetings and workshops. How do we learn across 25 nations and thousands of stakeholders? This needs an enhanced learning platform. For now, we have some 20 colleagues supporting us in kind, working on those programs. And about 2 weeks, we have some other, about almost 100 colleagues from our consortium starting to develop what is then for you really the very first concrete step. Those colleagues are working on the calls we are launching in maybe February or March next year. Then the calls coming out for those 10 programs, which I just showed you, are the very first things you can apply to and hopefully then benefit and join this journey. I hope I can make you a little curious and lift what this airport carrier is, and I hope we all turn it together into a creative carrier. I'm here all day, so please step forward and happy to help you. Thanks for the attention.